Hello and welcome to another episode of Historic Hindsight. I'm John, that's Tom, and today we're going to talk to you about Cupid Sparrow.
That's right, Johnny. Cupid's arrow shot many times.
Not Sparrow?
Or Sparrow. Why were we talking about? I thought you talked about Cupid.
It's an Office thing.
Oh,
Forget
yeah.
that.
See, I wouldn't have gotten it. I didn't watch The Office. I was thinking you went with arrow, Cupid's arrow, because that we are talking about Cupid's arrow if it was shot out of a machine gun at people lined up against the wall. That's the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, Johnny. That's what we're actually talking about today.
Not Cupid. Okay.
Yeah, St. Valentine's Day Massacre. Yeah.
Yeah, I got that part, but not the massacre bit.
Yeah. Totally.
Well, this sounds delightful.
Because, it's Valentine's Day. I thought what better way to celebrate Valentine's Day than spread the love with a massacre, which...
a spread of gunfire.
So, specifically, it's the St. Valentine's Day Massacre of 1929, not to be confused with other death and destruction that happened on St. Valentine's Day, which we'll talk about maybe next year in other Valentine's Day. But this one, the St. Valentine's Day Massacre of 1929, where 7 Irish gang members are gunned down in cold blood by the Italian Mafia in Chicago, Illinois. So
this is just gang wars.
This is gang wars all over.
That's all it is.
All over. Yeah, this stuff.
Out of
Canadian.
But we brought
whiskey.
it in public.
Yeah, whiskey.
Oh, and then whiskey's involved.
The Irish. So it all starts with the Irish gang known as the North Side Gang, who's led by George Bugs Moran, and he was at odds with Al Capone and the Italian Mafia. So both of these areas are trying to take over all of Chicago with their import of illegal Canadian whiskey.
Okay.
And right now, Chicago is the Italian mob under Al Capone's running its alcohol through Canada from Detroit, Michigan, and then the Irish mob finds out about this and starts hijacking some of that Canadian whiskey.
So after it comes in, they start stealing it en route.
Yes.
It's sort of like a train robbery.
Because there's a lot of money to be had. I mean, just because we had Prohibition doesn't mean people stopped wanting to drink all of a sudden. So a lot of money to be had.
Well,
here.
no, they did all sorts of stuff to drink, including the illegal stuff, and then there were the boxes of grape juice or whatever that's like, don't put this yeast in and leave it in your
oh god, I love that
for
one.
2 weeks or it'll turn out.
Or the medicinal whiskey that you could go like, I have a headache, and your doctor's like, well, here's some whiskey. Go to Walgreens.
Why don't you go drink about it?
Like I said, both groups fighting over control of Chicago. And things weren't always the most peaceful when they were fighting for said control. Both sides tended to utilize police that were bribed, including having police carry out hits, which also might have been part of what happens here. We think the people that were dressed up as police during this raid were not real police, but there is some degree of...
Who thinks that?
There is
the local police in the area
thought that
at the time?
Could have been real.
I mean, come on. Who thinks that?
Could have been real police as well. So violence is the name of it.
So they used them not only to like set up like, hey, we're gonna get you arrested.
Yeah.
Like, hey, tipping off there. They just bribed the cops with dirty money and had them do. So the cops were gang members too.
Yeah,
That's
pretty much. So violence is the name of the game in this era. There was a failed attempt to murder Jack McGurn by the Irish mob, who's a key member of the Capone's crew. So Jack is a key member of the Capone's crew. The Irish mob attempts to murder him, and it didn't work out also well for the Irish mob. And this sets off Capone on a kind of a killing spree here. In addition to that, the Irish mob inadvertently kill a police officer's son. So the police aren't really the most happy with the Irish mob here as well. So things aren't going to look over great for them. Capone begins going on his rampage to try to consolidate his power and take over all of Chicago. The last big gang to fight was the Irish gang.
Now, when you say Capone went on this rampage, did he do actual killing?
No,
or was it just him?
Capone's like
hiring hits and having
his people. Yeah, Capone's not getting his hands dirty.
I didn't think he was getting his hands dirty, but
this war.
If you're mad enough, you might.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe, I mean, I'm not saying Capone never murdered anybody. I'm just saying he's not the one.
But he wasn't going on. He wasn't a serial killer here.
No. But this whole war is going to culminate on February 14th, 1929. Now, the rest of this, some of it's speculation, some of it's fact. You got to take everything with a grain of salt because even to this day, technically speaking, this massacre is unsolved. It's solved. I mean, it's solved, but it's unsolved. It's unsolved.
But technically,
it's unsolved.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, what is widely believed is that the Morin gang was led to the SMC Cartage warehouse on 2122 North Clark Street by Capone's crew. They were lured there by the Detroit's Purple Gang, which was an associates of Capone's that were promising to get stolen Canadian whiskey to the Morin gang, to the Irish gang.
Sure. Yeah, that's how you do it.
Like, hey, we'll give you this whiskey. Meet us over at this location. Now, Capone wanted to take on Morin and wanted to kill Morin, so that's why he set up this trap. But Morin was a little bit late leaving his apartment in the morning, probably because he had a little bit of this.
Yeah. Yeah, he's probably getting high off his own supply.
And so he was a little bit too late for the meeting for this to actually happen. So he's walking to the meeting when things start to kick off, so he's not actually there. Instead, who is there is Peter Ginsburg, who's a frontline enforcer for the Irish gang, Irish Mafia. His brother Frank Gusenberg, Albert Kachelik, who's Morin's second in command, Adam Hayer, who's a bookkeeper, Reinhard Schwimmer, who's a gambler who's associated with the gang, John May, who's the mechanic of the gang, and Albert Weinschenk, who managed some of the money laundering business. So you can clearly see
this is like, just like a heist movie here with all, all the roles and everything.
And these are clearly these are people who would want to be at the seizing of this whiskey. You got the mechanic who's got the make sure the getaway car is good.
Sure,
to go.
yeah, you
got
have
the
everything
second command to make sure everything goes good. You got the enforcers for the muscle. You've got the bookkeeper who's like, make sure we're gonna check the goods on this to make sure.
Yeah, count the money, check the liquor, make sure it's all not filled with bottled water or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah, it all makes sense.
So the gang arrives at the warehouse shortly before 10:30 a.m. Morin's on his way there, accompanied by fellow gang member Ted Newberry. And when they see a police car that's approaching the area of the warehouse, and they go, "You're not going there."
Yeah, so they're doing this at 10:30 in the morning.
10:30 in the morning. Yeah, this is broad daylight. This is why it gets.
Well, it's because they have the cops in their pockets.
Yes. There's a police car pulling around the corner.
At least some of them.
Yeah, and Morin's not going there. So he doubles back over to the coffee shop across the street. They run across Henry Gunsberg. It's another one of the Gunsberg brothers. Warn him, hey, police car. See that?
Cop coming.
Let's go to the coffee shop instead. So they double back. The rest of the gang is already actually in the warehouse.
Okay.
Around that same time that Morin moves off to the coffee shop, a sedan pulls up to the garage and 4 men exit, 2 dressed as police officers carrying shotguns and 2 in regular suits. These 4 men mistake Weinschenk entering the garage as Morin, so they enter the building. When they enter the building, they pretend to arrest the gang, line them up against the wall, and then gun them down. The 2 men in the suits were carrying Thompson submachine guns, one with a 50-round drum, the other one with a 20-round stick magazine, and then, of course, the 2 guys dressed as cops with shotguns, and they unload until the guns are empty.
And just lined them up.
Which is between 70 and 80 rounds fired into
and
the
so
gang.
These are the people that we don't know who they are.
Yes, we don't know who these 4 men are. And we never know who these 4 men are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's Wink. I'll give you some names later. When the shooting is done, the men dressed as police held the men in suits at gunpoint, walked them back to the sedan, and then drove away. So, any onlookers would be like, "Well,
they arrested
they arrested these guys. Right. Everything's under control."
Yeah, only those 2 guys murdered all those people, not the cops too.
Yeah, not the cops too.
They're just doing their jobs now.
No.
It's just they just got done doing the jobs that they were paid more for, though.
Exactly. So. Now, when the real cops show up, wink, 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 they arrive on the scene. They find Frank Gusenberg still alive despite being shot 14 times. Although, he's going to die at the hospital a couple hours later.
I was going to say,
you don't get shot 14 times.
Did they treat him like a horse with a broken leg and just put him out of his misery at that point?
They probably should have. Now, they do try questioning him, and Frank Gusenberg the entire time refuses to say anything about who it was that assaulted.
I ain't talking.
I ain't no snitch. I don't even know what a gun is. I've never been shot a day in my life. And he's bleeding out. In reality, he probably refused to talk because he was shot 14 times. So, there's probably not a lot of ability to talk.
Yeah, well, and I mean, yeah, his mind is in different places that aren't involved with answering questions
After being
from
shot
police officers
14 times, by
He's thinking,
guys
"Shit,
dressed as police.
This really, really hurts.
Yeah, can I get,
I wish this would end soon.
can I get some morphine while I
Please,
bleed out?
somebody.
Now, this caused instant outrage amongst the public in Chicago. Granted, mafia has been around for a while now. Gang warfare has been around for a while, so it's not like this is new. What is new is the audacity of it being done in like broad daylight. Like this is like 10:30 o'clock.
Yeah,
in the morning,
I mean,
guys dressed as police, broad daylight. Like this is
even today. That's the only thing that gets people upset about all this type of activity today. Is everybody knows and accepts that gangs are around and that shady business is happening. It's just keep it out of my time.
Yes.
Out of my daytime, out of my children's
sight,
time, out of sight, out of mind type stuff. So I mean that's. Yeah, I can understand why people would be like, guys, it's 10:30 in the morning on Valentine's Day. I was going down to get a rose for my wife, and all of a sudden I'm seeing 14 people get mowed down. Like, that's
about
not
14,
cool.
7, but yes.
7.
Yeah. But anyways, yes, yeah. 7, 14, it's the same at the end. An
7 on the 14th.
Yeah, 7 on the 14th. An investigation is launched, and it took police all of about 2 seconds to look at Capone. Like,
how'd you do it?
A little bit. Seems a little bit like something you might have done.
It's right up your alley, bud. You've been saying how you wanted to kill all these guys, and here we are.
Within days of the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, there is a subpoena issued for Capone to testify in front of a grand jury for not for his involvement in this, but for prohibition violations.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Capone says, "I don't feel good, so I'm not coming." And they're like,
"You can do that?"
No, I don't think you can, but he did. And they're like, "Man, it's okay."
But when you're Al Capone and you own the police force, you can do whatever the fuck you want.
You can pretty much do whatever.
They're like, "Hey, Al, you know we weren't gonna do anything to you, right? Like, I mean, we bribed the jurors already. You just wanted you to come down for appearance's sake. Not gonna do it? Okay,
nope,
that's
fine. Don't worry about it. Yeah, we'll get you on tax fraud later down the road because you didn't pay your taxes on all these businesses that you own.
Because that's all people.
Oh, and that's all he ever got.
Where's that money?
During an investigation, they found that Morin was stealing whiskey shipments from Capone through the Purple Gang, and a witness actually identified 4 members of the Purple Gang being tenants who rented out a room across the garage a few days prior to the incident. This is how they're linking up Capone to it. That's why they looked at him.
Gotcha.
Of course.
Yeah, basically, his men got a rental place just a couple days before all this went down.
Yeah. The Purple Gang is
maybe they should plan ahead more and like have people live there for a couple months at least.
Right.
I mean,
well, it doesn't much matter because the witnesses that ID'd these 4 members of the Purple Gang recant their story later. I'm like, well, I don't know. Nope, I was wrong. Those aren't the right. Those aren't the guys. Because I'm sure
turns out
no money was changed hands.
No, well, and nobody came knocking at their doors late at night,
threatening,
saying, "Hey, do you like your family? Would you like to keep them around and not get them involved with this?"
Yeah.
Go ahead and recant that story. So that didn't happen.
On the 22nd of February, police found the sedan that's actually used in the massacre at a garage fire that was clearly designed to destroy the car. So the gang tries to get rid of the car, evidence by burning it in a garage, and the police respond to that garage fire, find the sedan, and they're like, well, that's...
Why'd they burn the garage, too? It seems like you take it in the middle of the street and just set it
I'm sure they, burned the car and were like, that's good enough, and then they caught the garage on fire and were like, shit, run!
Oh, this is why you don't have indoor fires. This is
stupid. So they're like, they found the car and they linked it up. They're like, yeah, this is definitely the car. They found that it belongs to a James Morton, and the garage belonged to a Frank Rogers, whose address is listed to a Circus Cafe that's operated by Claude Maddox, who is a Capone gang member. So this is, again, another Capone link. A lot of dots there. Basically, they find out that the guy who owns the garage is a gang member.
Right. Yeah.
So they're like, So Capone,
a little fishy.
We've got your gang having its whiskey stolen by Morin. We've got the car used in the crime linked to your gang. Capone, you want to answer some questions?
Now, does Capone admit to being a gang leader, mafia boss, mob?
Oh no,
boss,
Capone never admitted to
what is his
shit. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
He's
so what was his official? Just an entrepreneur.
He's an entrepreneur, Johnny. He's just
okay.
He's
just seeking opportunities and taking advantage.
He's your
of them.
Elon Musk. He's just building businesses and getting people into space.
He probably stole way less than Elon Musk has, though.
I mean, volume-wise, yeah, probably. You're probably not too far off there. Unfortunately, police can't actually track down any information on Morton or Rogers, the guy who owns the car and the guy who owned the garage. They can't find them. They can't find any more information about it. Wink, wink, wink.
I wonder how hard they were looking.
Probably not that hard. Although, again, it is the 1929, so it's not like the internet exists. It's not like you have like big complete police databases and stuff like that. You go one town over.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure they were still finding people back then.
No, well, yeah, I mean, just not.
I
mean,
law enforcement had been searching and finding for people since at least slavery time.
Damn it, Johnny, you got to go there, don't you? Oh, the
Were
old
we not?
fugitive slave laws. Where we no, they did.
Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong, Johnny. They definitely did. Now, they do have a solid lead through here with another eyewitness. So right before this all happens, right before the massacre happens, there's a truck driver, just a normal truck driver, doop, goes around the corner a bit too tight and creams a police car. Like, just goes around the corner, hits this police car that's parked. Same police car that Warren sees and's like, nope, getting out of here. So this guy pulls around the corner, creams this police car. Now, the truck driver does whatever a truck driver does. Shit! Like, if I'm, when I'm en route and I hit something, I'm like, motherfucker!
Yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't back up and bail. No, he gets out of the truck, goes to the police officer like, hey, totally, my bad.
Yeah, hit your car.
Texting and driving, wasn't paying attention. Totally hit your car. But the police officer,
it's a bad day to have to walk up to a cop to say that.
Yeah, but the cop's like, nah, it's fine. Go ahead, move on. Now, if a cop ever says move on after you hit his police car and it's totally your fault to have an accident, something's fishy.
It's not a cop, or he's up to some shady business.
He's up to some shady businesses, right? There was another eyewitness on the scene, a Wallace Cadwell, who confirmed that yep, this happened. I saw the truck driver get out, talk to the cop. Both men say that the cop was missing a front tooth and seemed a little suspect, that he was all like nonchalant about the whole like
about his car getting banged up.
Yeah, it's fine. Just go ahead and leave. So police at the time knew of a man named Fred Burke, who was a member of the Egan Rats, and they were known to wear police uniforms while doing their illicit activities, and he had a missing front tooth. So Fred Burke, they're like, all right, this is...
that matches up.
Guy that matches up. He's clearly not a real cop if he got hit and just told him to wave on. Missing a front tooth, that's Fred. Totally this guy. Got to be this guy.
All right. Hey, Tommy, I just looked up what 1929 cop cars looked like because I had no idea what cars.
Oh, they're huge. They're like big sedans.
They're dope.
Yeah, no, they're pretty awesome looking. They're big sedans.
Pop up some pictures. They're like they got the wagons and everything.
Yeah, I'll put some.
You'd be upset if that got hit.
Yeah, it's pretty dope. Yeah, I mean, and now back in 1929, you're like, whatever, it's another car. But like nowadays, you're like, man, I'd be pretty mad if that got hit.
I don't know. I feel like back in 1929, you're like, hey, I got one of the first like million of these made or whatever.
I think it was probably more like thousands.
Pretty excited.
I think it'd be more like thousands of these made. Yeah.
Pretty happy to not be riding on the back of a horse now. Like,
God, Chicago in the 20s, man, that had to be just. God, I can't imagine how ridiculous that was.
Chicago now is
awful,
kind of a nightmare.
But yeah, but like in the 20s, God.
Cool city, but yeah, you got your pockets.
I'm going to get my pizza and then I'm getting the hell out of there. And even that, you know what? I don't even need to do that now because we got the Giordano's in Indianapolis, so I'm good.
Yeah, and it's definitely the same.
Yeah.
And it might actually be better than Chicago pizza.
It probably is.
Have you ever had Indiana Pizza Chicago?
Have you ever
try that?
Have you ever had Indiana pizza that's franchised off of your pizza that we just copy? It takes an hour to get the pizza because it's deep dish and dear God.
Yeah, Indiana is just a soy-based crust with corn on the top of it. It's real bad.
Sidebar, I took my wife there twice. We've gone there twice to Giordano's. Twice. And both times I was like, a small is going to be good for us. Small pizza. Nope. Both times she demands us to order a medium, and she demands the little cheese, the triangles that they have, like these mozzarella triangles. She eats half of one piece of pizza, and I'm like, yep. Small would have been fine.
Does she bring it home for later?
Oh, yeah, no, we do.
No?
Yeah, we eat it the next day.
Oh, so there it is. She's just ordering a couple meals.
It's definitely like, whoa, one piece is good.
It's a lot. I mean, it's lasagna with a crust.
It is.
I mean,
it is lasagna.
and without the
crust.
noodles.
Without the noodles.
It's just
crust.
all the cheese and sauce
It's so much.
of a lasagna.
It's so good. That's the only thing redeemable about Chicago. The rest of the city can just fucking burn. Now, while all this is going on, police do go and charge John Scalzi and Jack McGurn, who are two members of the Capone gang, and they link them up to the massacre with no actual evidence. They're just like, we think these two did it because they're Capone.
They need some fall guys, right? You gotta make an arrest. The Chicago police have to make an arrest, and they're very clearly deeply involved in this in some way or another. And so they're just, of course it doesn't, there's no connection. No. They don't care. The connection is, Capone's gang, arrest him. Yep.
That's it. Yep. We're going to charge him with the massacre. Capone murders Scalzi in May for an attempted coup against himself. So Scalzi's out of the picture. And McGurn, his charges get dismissed because they're like, there's not a single piece of evidence linking him to anything. These two guys had nothing, like, from everything I read, they were fall guys. They were fall guys. They had nothing to do with anything. They were on the outs for Capone.
They're the guy
that's what it was.
Yeah, they're the guy that the rich people have to claim that the weed is theirs when they get pulled over. 5 pounds of weed, that's all mine, personal use. Sorry.
Well, for you, Johnny, that might actually be personal use. This case stagnates until December 1929 when Fred Burke gets drunk Fred Burke's the guy who they ID'd as a guy who dresses up as police and does crime.
Okay, with a
missing tooth
gone.
So Fred Burks decides to get himself drunk in 1929 in December and go driving around in Berrien County, Michigan. He's going to rear end a car, get himself involved in a police pursuit. He's going to crash his car during that police pursuit. The officer is going to
so he hit a car and then ran
and then gets chased by police. Hit and run, gets chased by police. The officer that's chasing him is a Charles Skelly. When Burks crashes the second time, Skelly gets up on top of Burks' car and is like, stick him up. And then Burks is like, fuck you, and ba 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 ba, and shoots Scully 3 times in the chest and then drives off. Scully doesn't make it. Yes,
so he
doesn't make it. Skelly doesn't make it.
I didn't think that's.
They don't have bulletproof. Yeah, the vests aren't. He's not wearing a vest.
Yeah. I'm impressed that that car survived a couple crashes.
Johnny, have you seen the 1929 cars? They're pretty beefy. Yeah.
Yes, but the wheels aren't.
Yeah, that's fair point. Yeah, fair point. He's able to get away. The police then go off and raid Burke's house. And at this time, he's going underneath the alias Frederick Dane. They find $320,000 in bonds, which is a shit ton of money at 1929.
How much money? Sorry,
$320,000 in bonds.
$320,000 in bonds,
and just bearer bonds. These are the stuff like stock options, things that whoever holds it owns it.
which is getting ready to not matter anymore.
You're 100% right. They find a bulletproof vest in his home, which is surprising because I forgot that bulletproof vests actually did exist at this time. It's just the police weren't wearing them.
So I imagine obviously it's not what a bulletproof vest is. I imagine it's like steel plating.
No, they are. They're made of early
Kevlar and stuff?
Yeah, they're made of early Kevlar. They're just not nearly as effective as modern.
Sure.
Modern ballistic vests are pretty good. I mean,
they're
really
wild.
surprised about what they can stop, especially the ceramic ones. But that's another story. They find the bulletproof vest. They find $320,000 in bonds. They find 2 Thompson submachine guns. Remember, Thompson submachine guns were used during the Valentines Day Massacre.
Now, those were have those always been illegal to own in the United States?
No, Johnny.
Okay, they were fine.
Johnny, the St. Valentine's Day Massacre is one of the reasons why. Because fucking FDR, motherfucking FDR ruined. We're going to do episodes on presidents in the future.
We're going to do a Tommy's tirade on why
FDR,
he can't own a Tommy gun.
I used to like FDR for when I was in high school.
Tommy,
FDR was the best president in the world. And then I read about FDR and beyond everything. He fucking. I can't own a Tommy gun because of FD motherfucker. Well, I can, but I can't because look, yes, I could legally own a machine gun right now, but I can't afford. They're like $30,000 now, and I can't afford that. So. Hey, Patreon! If you want to donate, we don't have one. But if you want to donate money to us, so I can buy a Thompson,
we'll drop our PayPal. Let us know.
kidding. Which, by the way, if I get $30,000 from this whole endeavor, I'm buying a Thompson submachine gun. Anyways.
All right. Well, in 10,000 years when we get that.
Anyways, they find several pistols, 2 shotguns, and thousands of rounds of ammunition. Which, to be fair, you might.
So they went to a typical gun owner's house.
Yeah, you might find something similar to that.
Is what you're saying. They went to a gun owner's house.
They went to a gun
owner's
house.
That's what they always make it seem so dramatic.
1,000
but it's
rounds
if you're going to
much.
have guns,
it's not much.
You're gonna have a lot of it, especially that anyway.
Well, look, I've got 5 magazines for an AR-15, so that's 150 rounds right there in those magazines.
Yeah.
Let alone what I have else plus,
for all your old
I've got hundreds of rounds of musket ammunition. Super dangerous. Although there's several pounds of. Anyways,
I don't want to get hit with a musket.
Right?
Ball.
I would rather get hit with a 45 than a
shoot me
musket.
with a 9mm or whatever.
Right?
Like, I don't know.
It's gonna go through a musket. It's gonna. Anyways, we got way off topic. They immediately call the Chicago police because they're like, "This is Frank Burke. We've identified him as Frank Burke." And we know that he was wanted in the Valentine's Day Massacre, and we found a couple of Thompson submachine guns that you might want to test because maybe these are linked.
And by test, we mean might want to go ahead and link it to him because he's dead and not a problem.
No, he's not
anymore,
dead. He's not dead. They haven't caught him yet.
Oh, no, that's right. He killed the cop.
He killed the cop and ran, but then they raided his house.
Then he bounced.
The police do, in fact, test those machine guns, those Thompson guns, and they do, in fact, match ballistically to not only the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, they also match to a murder of a New York mobster, Frankie Yales, who died a year and a half earlier. So.
Okay, now I don't know if you're going to know how would they be able to match a particular gun to
bullet. So they recovered bullets from the scene of the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. They recovered bullets from the scene of Frankie Yale's death.
Yeah.
Those bullets then they shot. They took this Thompson gun. They shot it into basically a can of water. They recover those bullets. Then they match the bullets line up, and then each the rifling of any gun is unique. Because of the mechanical cuts that are in it, it's always going to leave a unique mark, and then you can line up those unique marks and hey, these bullets match, had to be fired from the same.
And so you can see based on those marks, you can see the marks on the bullet then that get made as it
goes through
travels
the barrel.
out.
Yes, yeah. That's how whenever anybody ballistically matches a gun to a crime, that's how they do it.
I always hear about it, but I have no idea what that means.
Yeah, they take
like that because I always figured it'd be like. Basically, they could say a Tommy gun was used.
No, they legitimately take a.
So they
have to find a bullet or a casing because again, any gun will leave distinct. It's almost like a fingerprint. Will leave distinct marks on a case as it gets extracted from the gun.
As it hits. Oh, as it pops out.
Well, as a primer hits, and of course as it extracts, all that stuff leaves marks that are individual to those guns, although there's some degree
unique enough to be able to draw conclusions for a police case where the other Tommy gun in my match is in California or whatever.
Under microscope, they take the bullets that they found at both scenes and they lined it up to a bullet they shot with this gun, and they're like, those marks look like they match, and they link the guns up. So clearly, Frank Burke is a part of this. I mean, he's got both guns that were used.
At the if nothing else, he's holding the guns for somebody else. Like
Burke, he does evade a capture for over a year until caught in a farm in Missouri, and then linked to the Valentine's Day Massacre. They're like, we gotcha. But even though he's linked to the Valentine's Day Massacre, they don't actually charge him with those charges because that link is a little bit less. Like you happen to have the guns. You can't actually prove that you shot. You just happen to have those guns. We definitely know that you killed the cop in Detroit. Or in Michigan. That's
harder to back out of there.
Yeah. So they link him up with a Michigan police shooting, and he gets sentenced to life. Life though, not death sentence. He just gets sentenced to life. He will die in prison.
Was it more common back then for a death sentence for that type of thing?
Well, death sentence in general was more common back then. But yeah, you kill a cop.
Sure.
You think normally
you kill a cop. That's
it. But no, he got maybe Detroit didn't have the death penalty at this point, but they probably did. It's 1940. I'm sure. Anyways, he dies in jail in 1940. Anyways, doesn't much matter. He did in 1940.
He gone.
Dies in jail. I'm sure of natural causes. But the case isn't over, Johnny, because
well, I mean, Maybe he committed suicide like Epstein.
Maybe. But the case isn't
Just
over.
got so sad.
Case isn't over. You didn't get so sad, Johnny. Hey, but we got his Epstein's. Yes. Anyway, damn it, Johnny, you get me sidetracked. The case isn't over because in 1935, the FBI raided a Chicago apartment looking for the Barker Gang. So this another gang, another thing in Chicago. They're looking for the Barker Gang. They raid this apartment. In the apartment, they have a brief shootout that occurs that results in the death of a bank robber, Russell Gibson. This is like we think police shootings nowadays is like, oh my God, police shoot everybody. But like back then it's like, meh. Like that.
Well, back then everybody shot everybody. That was just what you did.
That's what you did.
I mean, until like
so they
after World War II, I think.
They go after the Barker Gang. In the
was just
process,
fine.
they find Robert Russell Gibson. They shoot him down in his apartment. And they get the custody of Doc Barker and Byron Bolton, who are also like, you know, bank robber, gang criminals, blah, 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 blah. Bad people that get caught.
Yeah.
Bolton, he is an ex-Navy machine gunner and a former member of the Egan Rats. Well, that's curious because Burks was also a former member of the Egan Rats.
Egan Rats?
They're a gang. It's a gang.
Okay,
Burks
just a
was
gang.
part.
All
A
right.
gang that's controlled by Capone.
Okay. All right. One of his sub-chapters.
One of his sub-chapters.
Sort of.
Yep.
Gotcha.
So,
all right. Back
so
on.
while Bolton's in custody, he starts singing like a canary. And he says, yep, I was involved in the Valentines Day Massacre. But the FBI doesn't have any jurisdiction over state murders. They only have jurisdiction over federal crimes. And murder itself isn't a federal crime unless you murder and then, like, cross state lines and then bury bodies and that kind of stuff. Like, if it's all in the state, it's a state crime. It's
Our
weird.
justice systems.
It was so weird, right? So the
Oh
FBI's
my
like,
God.
we don't give a shit about the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. So they just like throw him off into jail for the federal crimes that he's committed with bank robbery. Because if you rob a bank, it's a if you touch
Well, because
the
it's
Federal Reserve
stealing
money,
from the Federal Reserve. Yeah,
you're screwed.
That's what I was gonna say.
Of course, which is what if you rob an armored car, even if it's $1, it's a felony because that's
Yeah,
Federal
well,
Reserve.
I mean, this comes back to the only thing anybody cares about as
Is
far
money.
as law goes is money.
Yeah, it's true. Like even though Bolton admitted all this, the FBI doesn't care. Of course, Bolton does point out during this whole like questioning thing, as he's singing like a canary, he points out the location of the hideout for May Baker and Freddie Baker, who the FBI is actually looking for. So they go off and go to that hideout, and then murder / apprehend them, and by apprehend I mean apprehend their bodies after they get involved in a shootout and just
Another shootout.
Yeah.
Dang. It's crazy how all of these end in shootouts.
it's the craziest.
Now, were shots fired from both sides?
Sure. I'm sure. Maybe. But then all this story turns on its head when a reporter from the Chicago American gets a hold of the story and he runs with it, saying that the Valentine's Day Massacre was solved, except it was stonewalled by Hoover, who's the head of the FBI at the time.
Mm-hmm.
The national media then picks up the story and is like, Herbert Hoover is like covering up mafia crimes, which he's not. He just doesn't give a shit because he doesn't have any jurisdiction over it.
Also, maybe. I mean, I'm not gonna discount that and say he's definitely not doing that.
Herbert did.
It's just,
Herbert did have a habit of dressing up in his mommy's clothes, so yeah, anything's possible. True story. True story. Dressed up in his mommy's clothes.
Yeah. No, Eddie Izzard has a bit about it. I mean, let's not go ahead and say that makes him a weirdo.
No, I mean
Maybe he was an executive transvestite.
Yeah, exactly. I fucking love Eddie Izzard. Anyways, all this stuff gets blown publicly, which goes on and gets Bolton at least some media attention while he's in jail. While he's in jail, he talks to the media, gives them his whole story.
While he's in jail, he talks to the media.
Yeah, he claims that he and Jimmy Moore...
They just go during visiting hours?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Yeah, they go there in visiting hours. Get the story.
Weird.
He's going to claim that Jimmy Moore and him were charged with watching the SMC cartage garage and then phoning the signal to the killers that, hey, yes...
the right people are where they are. Okay.
But they fuck up and they identify.
But they're
the
not
wrong
good at
person.
their job,
Yeah.
and the picture probably wasn't. I mean, obviously they don't have like cell phones; they could have just a picture on. So picture quality was probably bad.
Bolton himself doesn't say he's like I don't know for sure, but if I were to guess, Wink, wink here. I don't know for sure. I was a lookout guy. I don't know who the shooters were. Wink, wink.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure.
Right.
But I'm a lookout guy. Yeah,
Watched
he
it,
knows
looked
for sure.
out. Yeah,
Yeah, he knows for sure.
Planned the whole thing. We all got together in the warehouse before. We built a mini diorama of it. We all circled around it and went through our little things and
Ocean's 11 style. Yep.
Yeah, but I don't know.
He says
I'm clueless.
He says that Burke, Winkler, a man by the name of Goetz, and Bob Carey were all the shooters, with a Raymond, a.k.a. Crane Neck Nugget, which I got to look up. That I didn't look it up, but I have to look. I'm sure he had like a crane. That's fucking great. Anyways,
Raymond
Crane Neck Nugget and a Claude Maddox were the getaway drivers.
Nugent.
Yeah, Nugent. Fred. I wonder if he's Ted Nugent. I wonder if he's related to that guy. Anyways, were like the getaway drivers.
I mean, it's probably Ted Nugent's dad.
No,
I think.
Portions of his story are actually confirmed by Winkler's widow, who says that, yep, those are the guys. That's what happened. And they were a special hit crew for Capone who operated in secret. Now, she was writing a book.
Neck isn't that long, by the way.
Yeah, she was writing a book at the time, so take all of her stuff with a grain of salt. Like she's trying to sell a book, like.
Yeah, she's selling a book, is what.
But she's confirming his story. So there's likely these are the guys. But either way, the FBI does nothing again because they don't have any jurisdiction over this. And
no,
then
okay, all right, but they could have been like
turned it over to Chicago
department that does have jurisdiction. Do a thing.
But all the
but
Johnny, the problem is all the men that were named at this time, minus Burke, who's in custody, are dead. So it doesn't matter. Like they're all fucking been murdered during the gang war, so it doesn't matter.
So they're solving a crime that, I mean, you're not punishing anybody for it.
They're all dead. Doesn't matter.
I can see why they just.
So this is why
it's
officially unsolved, but it's not unsolved. Like likely these are the guys that did it. Likely they're all. I mean, they were all dead before.
It was just there's no way to bring closure to it because you can't arrest anybody.
Can't arrest anybody. Can't put them on trial. Can't do any of that kind of stuff. Nope.
You could put them in a worse grave, I guess, if they got buried. Like dig them up and put them in a worse plot.
That's something I should look that up at some point. See if like these gang, like did the people get. Did they get buried? Did they just kill? Like, what happened to the bodies of all these gangs?
I mean, something had to happen. Like, I mean,
you're right. I'm sure.
I would imagine cremated.
Buried, maybe cremated. Well, it depends if they get buried.
It depends on the time. I'm guessing time and expense.
Time and expense. Yep. By the way, if you want to visit the garage that all the St. Valentine's Day Massacre happened, you can't. It was demolished in 1967. The bricks, several bricks, were sold to private parties, and then sold to private parties, but like. I mean, were they really the bricks? Were they really the bricks? I mean, they're probably just a brick with a bullet hole in it. Like, man, that's a brick from Valentine's.
There are 1.5 billion bricks circulating the planet, right? Claiming to be part of
I'm sure that. Well, yes, that's probably
massacre.
Definitely.
I actually, you know what? I got a store full of them. If you're interested, let me know.
Hey, Patreon. We'll open up a Patreon. We'll sell you a brick and
$500.
I'm going to shoot it with my 1911 and say that it was definitely the Thompson submachine gun because both 45 ACP. Prove me wrong. Anyways, the garage is demolished in 1967 and now it's a parking lot for a retirement home of all things.
Oh God. No, I mean, that area did retire a handful of people.
It did definitely retire a handful of people.
Might as well keep it going. That's it for this week in Historic Hindsight. Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe, like, and review, and join us next week when we talk about the Battle of Fort Donelson.